Yo, time for the classic debate of boobs versus ass. I mean, the shit show, the vice, the vice presidential debate. I mean, I think Walls will do great. JD Vance though has been, shown to be less than stellar. I'll just say that, okay. I think it should be live here. I'm taking a look. I thought I'd listen to that because I have a feeling it's gonna be a massive shit show. And you know me, I love my shit shows. See if I can pick it up. I thought it was on Hulu. But anywhere else has it because I don't know where it's held.
Maintain decorum. We have not shared the question.
President Trump's
I thought it was supposed to be happening.
These mushrooms make you feel.
Shit, did I do it too early? It was 6. Was it not? Am I high off my ass right now? Coverage starts at 8 time. I had to check. That was ahead. Is that 9? I am so confused. What time is vice president debate? DuckDuckGo, you are not helping me right now. Google. I thought it was supposed to be happening now. Wait. Did it happen an hour ago? No way, right? God, I hate the fucking fluff piece. What if I just do whatever I've been doing forever, is just clicking on Reddit afterward. Yes, news set for 9 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, wait. Yeah, it should be happening now, shouldn't it? Am I wrong on that?
The largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to...
Maybe they're just taking ass time. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but... Wait.
A preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you.
There we go.
Thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists
I'll be playing a little bit of Final Fantasy while kind of reacting.
1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along with our Israeli partners and our coalition, able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is
that's gonna lower volume for the game.
It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago. A nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership.
Right in the left corner.
We've seen a calmness that is able to be able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together. Understanding that our allies matter. When our allies see Donald Trump turn towards Vladimir Putin, turn towards North Korea, when we start to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the Vice President said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, the same question.
I don't think
Would
that's the
you
answer a lot of
support
people wanted,
or
but
oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor. Thanks to CBS for hosting the debate. And thanks, most importantly, to the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are. I was raised in a working-class family. My mother required food assistance for periods of her life. My grandmother required Social Security help to raise me, and she raised me in part because my own mother struggled with addiction for a big chunk of my early life. I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country.
I love this thing that they do is they don't answer the question. They just repurpose the question to what they want to talk about.
About the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White House, if we get Donald Trump back in the White House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember that as much as Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies, and God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to recognize that if they got out of line, the United States global leadership would put stability and peace back in the world. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe, and we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the
not when they're fucking committing genocide.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, do you care to respond
Support them and, like, you defend themselves, but not just absolutely obliterating the other side.
Donald Trump was in office. It was Donald Trump.
I don't say even obliterating the other side. It's more so they're fighting the wrong people.
Iran's nuclear program in the inability to advance it.
Like, okay, fight Hamas, but also not kill citizens. Is that too much to ask for?
Because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, that's right. Trump's back on Twitter now too.
Did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches. Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong.
Yeah, that's a super hot topic right now.
Harris is providing.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently said, just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now, and you can't ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize.
Yeah, because, you know, Biden has control of who's attacking who. Granted, he could, you know, stop funding, but that's another topic.
Done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Are you kidding me? That's full conflict. COVID? That's kind of a big one.
Hurricane Helene. The storm could become one of the deadliest on record. More than 160 people are dead and hundreds
What do you
more are
mean?
missing.
Was free of conflict. Do I have to bring up January 6th as well?
Stronger and more.
Oh yeah, that's right, because
because
Donald
of
Trump,
the
yeah, that
historic
wasn't his
rainfall.
fault.
Senator Vance, according to CBS News polling, 7 in 10 Americans and more than 60% of Republicans under the age of 45 favor the U.S. taking steps to try and reduce
Well,
climate
sure,
change.
go spit your
Senator,
shit, I
what
guess.
responsibility would the Trump administration have to try and reduce the impact of climate change? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Sure. So first of all, let's start with the hurricane because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy.
I love how the news is always happy and nothing in the wrong in the world. Everything's definitely fine. Yeah, I was expecting this to be a shit show with JD Vance, but it's kind of just regular, scripted, boring, robotic. I mean, if it's not over yet, so there's plenty of time for him to make an absolute clown of himself. We'll see though.
To help the people in those communities rebuild. I mean, these are communities
But
that
just how to watch it, still watch it, and maybe farm a little bit of shit on Final Fantasy. How you doing, by the way, Kai?
When Donald Trump is president again, the government will put the citizens of this country first when they.
Yeah, he said there's no conflict that ever happened in Donald Trump's presidency. It's like, my brother in Christ, did we not talk about COVID? COVID was pretty big and pretty conflicting. Obviously January 6th. There's quite a few to name.
Concern about carbon emissions, this idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. Well, let's just say that's true. Just for the sake of
How you
argument, so
doing?
we're not arguing about weird science. Let's just say that's true. Well, if you believe that, what would you want to do?
Did you just
The
call
answer is that you'd want to restore
global
as much
warming
American
weird
manufacturing as
science?
possible, and you'd want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America because we're the cleanest economy in the entire world. What have Kamala Harris's
I didn't even hear what the
actually
question
led
was.
to?
Wasn't it about
More energy
Helene?
production in
Helene?
China, more manufacturing overseas.
What does this have to do anything with Helene right now?
Parts of the entire world. And when I say that, I mean the amount
Doing
of
alright,
emissions
been
they're
really
doing
productive
per unit
today.
of
Got most of my work done.
So
Nice.
if we actually care about getting cleaner air and cleaner water, the best thing to do is
Again,
to
was
double
this
down
about
and invest in
support
American
for
workers
victims of
and the American
Helene
people.
or
And
the
unfortunately,
storm,
Kamala Harris has done
hurricane?
exactly the opposite.
What does any of this have anything to do with that?
Well, we got close to an agreement because all those things are happening. Look, first of all, it is a horrific tragedy with this hurricane, and my heart goes out to the folks.
Again,
that are
this is
down
what
there.
I talk
I'm in
about. Is
contact
like,
with
you
the
know, they
governors,
take these
Sarah
questions
Bass,
and they repurpose it to what they
co-chair
want
of
to
the
talk
Council of
about.
Governors as we
It
work
has
together
nothing
on
to do
emergency
with it.
managements. Governors know no partisanship. They work together to all of the governors and the emergency responders are on the ground. Those happen on the front end. The federal government comes in, makes sure they're there that we recover, but we're still in that phase where we need to make sure that they're staying there, staying focused. Now, look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it.
Oh yeah, what's
what's
my repair? Oh, I need to repair.
More beachfront property to be able to invest in.
Is that a
What we've
mender?
seen
Okay, yeah,
out
it's
of
a
the Harris,
mender.
Administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen.
Yeah, I'm trying to get
the
some more
Inflation
Blue
Reduction
Mage
Act. It's
spells.
created jobs all across the country.
I've gotten to the
Jefferson
point where I
Borough,
can't really
Ohio,
farm on my own
taking
anymore. I
the
need
technology
parties
we invented
to get the
and making it here.
spells.
200,000 jobs across
And it's
the
very
country.
much a
The
pain in the
largest
ass.
solar manufacturing plant in North
Because we're
America
kind of
sits
in between
Minnesota.
patches right now, and when we're in between patches, Party Finder's kind of dead.
Floods back to back. But what they're doing is adapting, and this has allowed them to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, and I harvest wind. We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time.
Unfortunately, we're not going to
We're
be
also
in
producing
a
more
patch
clean
until
energy. So
next
the
month. Yeah, next
solution
month,
for
because it's
us
October
is to
now.
continue to move forward, that climate change is real.
They're purposing it to
Reducing our
talk
impact
about
is
what you actually want to talk about, but you still
critical.
actually got to
This is
answer
not
the
a false
question.
choice.
Yeah.
You can do that at the same time you're creating the jobs that we're seeing all across the country. That's
I
exactly.
mean, I'm
what
not
this
saying that, you
administration
know,
has done. We are
Republicans
seeing us
exclusively do this,
becoming
because
a
Democrats
superpower
also
for
do
the
it,
future,
but
not just the current.
I feel like
That's what
Republicans are
absolutely makes
definitely
sense. And then we start thinking
bigger,
about how do we mitigate these disasters.
Thank you,
I don't know what the
Senator.
word
I
would
wanna
be.
give you an opportunity
They do
to
it more,
respond there. The governor
essentially.
mentioned that President Trump
It's
has
what it
called
feels like
climate change
anyway.
a
That might be a little
hoax. Do you
biased,
agree?
though.
Well, look, what the president has said.
I will not say that I'm free from bias, because there's so definitely bias there.
Leadership, if they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more.
How did a question about helping survivors of Helene turn to climate change?
Clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. And I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And the real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money,
is it bad? I want to bring. Okay, the interview did. Okay, never mind. My bad.
We should be making more of those solar panels here.
I didn't catch that part.
Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in
I
China.
want to pulp the fucking donuts.
That go into those solar panels.
JD advanced in a donut shop.
The environment cleaner. You've got
okay, my bad.
More energy production. We haven't built a
yeah, I'm just going to go to that.
In the past 40 years.
Just because the thing's funny. And I'll come back to this.
Has done the opposite. That's raised
J.D. Vance made a quick stop at a Georgia donut store in Valdosta, taking some time off from the hectic campaign. A video of the visit shows him struggling.
I want to see the actual video, not a fucking. Yeah, here we go.
Good. The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here. Yes, sir. Yeah. Looks like we're. Is everybody else in here? Okay.
I'm sorry, I love this video. It's just him just being awkward.
And just a random assortment of stuff.
The girl asked not to be on camera. Okay, I'm going to go back.
To do so. Could you be more specific about exactly how this will work? For example, would you deport parents who have entered the U.S. illegally and
all right, let's fucking go.
From any of their children who were
let's do this shit.
US soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all, Margaret, before we talk about deportations, we have to stop the bleeding. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. 94 executive orders suspending deportations, decriminalizing illegal aliens, massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists in our system. That has opened the floodgates. And what it's meant is that a lot of fentanyl is coming into our country. I had a mother who struggled with opioid addiction and has gotten clean. I don't
do we have a tank?
Struggling with addiction to be deprived.
I hope someone. Okay, we had a red mage with us.
Into our communities at record.
All right, fuck it, we ball.
Stop the bleeding. You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies, build the wall, re-implement deportation.
We talk about the fucking wall again.
About what do we actually do? So we've got 25 million illegal aliens who are here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million of those people have committed some form of crime in addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start with deportation.
And how old is this? We keep fucking talking about the goddamn wall.
Of American workers. A lot of people will go home if they can't work.
Yeah, all right, my bad.
Less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good.
I don't have a res.
Who just want to earn a fair wage for
okay, good. Someone else says.
Work. And the final point, Margaret, is you ask about family separation.
I don't.
Now,
on aggro.
Margaret, we have 300.
I can't take this shit.
Children that the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost. Some of them have been sex trafficked. Some of them, hopefully, are at homes with their families. Some of them have been used as drug trafficking mules. The real family separation policy in this country is.
Okay, I guess that's what the plan is.
Kamala Harris's wide open southern border.
Red Mage is here just to be Res bitch.
She said she was going to do this. Real leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Governor, do you care to respond to any of those specific allegations, including that the vice president is, quote, letting in fentanyl and using kids as drug mules, among other things regarding children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about the fentanyl, because this is a crisis of this, the opioid crisis. And the good news on this is the last 12 months saw the largest decrease in opioid deaths in our nation's history. 30% decrease in Ohio, but there's still more work to do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of the largest state, a border state in California. She's the only person in this race who prosecuted transnational gangs for human trafficking and drug interventions. But look, we all want to solve this. Most of us want to solve this. And that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration that this nation's seen. It was crafted by a conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. I know him, he's super conservative, but he's a man of principle, wants to get it done. Democrats and Republicans worked on this piece of legislation. The Border Patrol said, this is what we need in here. These are the experts. And the Chamber of Commerce and the Wall Street Journal said, pass this thing. Kamala Harris helped get there. 1,500 new border agents, detection for drugs, DOJ money to speed up these the adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually tackle this, Donald Trump said no, told them to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue. It gives him what would Donald Trump talk about if we actually did some of these things? And they need to be done by the legislature. You can't just do
literally
this.
anyone brings up anything about immigration. Trump and associate supporters. How about the wall?
4 years to do this.
My brother in Christ, there's a thing called ladders.
I'll build you a big, beautiful
People
wall,
build,
and Mexico
like,
will pay for it. Less
big
than 2%
tunnels.
of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are again, 9 years after he came down that escalator, dehumanizing people and telling them what he was going to do. As far as the deportation plan, at one point, Senator Vance said it was so unworkable to be laughable. So that's where we're at. Pass the bill, she'll sign it.
Governor, your
I think I
time
might
is
have to go
up.
healer.
Senator, the question was, will you separate parents from their children, even if their kids are U.S. citizens? You have 1 minute.
I'm gonna suck off a healer real quick.
We have massive child separations thanks to Kamala Harris's open border. And I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country. And we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a disgrace, and it has to stop. Look, I think what Tim said just doesn't pass the smell test. For 3 years, Kamala Harris went out bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. She did exactly that.
Yeah, this has not been as much of a shit show as I thought it was going to be.
Into our country. And now that she's running for president, or a few months before, she says that somehow she got religion and cared a lot about a piece of legislation. The only thing that she did when she became the vice president, when she became the appointed border czar, was to undo 94 Donald Trump executive actions that opened the border. This problem is leading to massive problems in the United States of America. Parents who can't afford health care, schools that are overwhelmed. It's got to stop, and it will when Donald Trump is president again.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, what about our CBS News polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations?
Look, we fix this issue with a bill that is necessary, but the issue on this is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize it. And we saw this, and Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield. The Republican governor said, it's not true, don't do it. There's consequences for this. There's consequences. We could come together. Senator Lankford did it. We could come together and solve this if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
Tim,
Governor, your time is up. Senator, I'll give you 1 minute, but let me just ask you the question first. The governor has made the point, and I think as a sitting lawmaker, you know that Congress controls the purse strings and any funding. So you have said repeatedly that Donald Trump would, through executive action, solve this. Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings and would need to support many of the changes that you would actually want to implement? You have 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, first of all, the gross majority of what we need to do at the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern border more than our border czar, Kamala Harris, has been, and it's actually heartbreaking because the border
Is this a competition now between him and her?
to do their job. Of course, additional resources would help, but most of this is about the president and the vice president empowering our law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border illegally, you've got to stay in Mexico, you've got to go back through proper channels. Now, Governor Walz brought up the community of Springfield, and he's very worried about the things that I've said in Springfield. Look, in Springfield, Ohio, and in communities all across this country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed. You've got hospitals that are overwhelmed. You've got housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, well, it is law enforcement that asked for the bill. They helped craft it. They're the ones that supported it. It was.
Wall Street like Vance, my dude, don't let Trump brainwash you. Loki, please use one single brain cell for once.
Everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making them less affordable, but it becomes a blame. Look, this
yeah, I don't think JD Vance is looking in the right places for who's to blame about the housing crisis.
7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to what we know, American principles. Look, I don't talk about my faith a lot, but Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys were going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's.
I can sense you're fact checking me. What is this?
Where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Yeah, I don't think this party's going to do too well.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
we want to have.
app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen,
Bro has the fucking the force. I can sense that someone is fact checking me.
Nora.
Thank you, Margaret. The economy is a top concern for voters. Each of your campaigns has released an economic plan, so let's talk about the specifics. Governor Walz, Vice President Harris unveiled a plan that includes billions in tax credits for manufacturing, housing, and a renewed child tax credit.
I might have to grab palm cure. Probably gonna grab palm cure.
Increase the nation's deficit by $1.2 trillion. How would you pay for that without ballooning the deficit? Governor, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Oh no, I can get rid of basic instinct for now.
I do believe in the middle class because that's where we come from. We both grew up in that.
I'm
we understand.
here.
So those of you out there listening tonight, you're hearing a lot of stuff back and forth, and it's good. It's healthy. That's what this is supposed to happen. You should be listening. How's this going to impact me? The bold forward plan that Kamala Harris put out there is talking about this housing issue. The one thing is there's 3 million new houses proposed under this plan with down payment assistance on the front end to get you in a house. A house is much more than just an asset to be traded somewhere.
I feel disturbance.
And then making sure that the things
someone's trying to prove me wrong. Someone's trying to use logic.
Look, the $35 insulin is a good thing, but it costs $5 to make insulin. They were charging $800 before this law went into effect. As far as the housing goes, I've seen it in Minnesota. 12% more houses in Minneapolis, prices went down on rent 4%. It's working. And then making sure tax cuts go to the middle class. $6,000 child tax credit, we have one in Minnesota, reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We save money in the long run, and we do the right thing for families. And then getting businesses off the ground. The law as it stands right now is $5,000 tax credit for small business, increasing that to $50,000. Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it. He took folks to Mar-a-Lago, said, you're rich as hell, I'm going to give you a tax cut. He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever. Now he's proposing a 20% consumption or sales tax on everything we bring in. Everyone agrees, including businesses, it would be destabilizing it would increase inflation and potentially lead to a recession. Look, this is simple for you. Where are we going? Kamala Harris has said to do the things she wants to do, we'll just ask the wealthiest to pay their fair share. When you do that, our system works best, more people are participating in it, and folks have the things that they need.
Senator, I want to give you a moment to respond on that. But similarly, the Wharton School has done an analysis of the Trump plan and says it would increase the nation's deficit by $5.8 trillion.
Damn Democrats in your logic.
Without ballooning the deficit. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, you're going to hear a lot from Tim Walz this evening, and you just heard it in the answer. A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good. Here's what you won't hear, is that Kamala Harris has already done it. Because she's been the vice president for 3.5 years. She had the opportunity to enact all of these great policies, and what she's actually done instead is drive the cost of food higher by 25%, drive the cost of housing higher by about 60%, open the American southern border, and make middle-class life unaffordable for a large number of Americans. If Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle-class problems, then she ought to do them now. Not when asking for a promotion, but in the job the American people gave her 3.5 years ago. And the fact that she isn't tells you a lot about how much you can trust her actual plans. Now, Donald Trump's economic plan is not just a plan, but it's also a record. A lot of those same economists attack Donald Trump's plans, and they have PhDs, but they don't have common sense, and they don't have wisdom. Because Donald Trump's economic policies to deliver the highest...
Did you just say that a person with a PhD isn't smart?
0.5% inflation, and to bring peace and security all over the world. So when people say that Donald Trump's economic plan doesn't make sense, I say look at the record. He delivered rising take-home pay for American workers. Now, Tim admirably admits that they want to undo the Trump tax cuts. But if you look at what was so different about Donald Trump's tax cuts, even from previous Republican tax cut plans, is that a lot of those resources went to giving more take-home pay to middle-class and working-class Americans. It was passed in 2017, and you saw an American economic boom unlike we've seen in a generation in this country. That is a record that I'm proud to run on, and we're going to get back to that common sense wisdom so that you can afford to live the American dream again. I know a lot of you are struggling. I know a lot of you are worried about paying the bills. It's going to stop when Donald Trump brings back common sense to this country.
Governor, do you want to respond to that? What has Kamala Harris done for the middle class?
Yeah, well, Kamala Harris's day one was Donald Trump's failure on COVID that led to the collapse of our economy. We were already before COVID in a manufacturing recession, but 10 million people out of work, largest percentage since the Great Depression. 9 million jobs closed on that. That was day one, whether it was the Infrastructure Act or other things we moved. Now, you made a question about experts, said this. I've made a note of this. Economists can't be trusted. Science can't be trusted. National security folks can't be trusted. Look, if you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, not Donald Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask you out there, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, or whatever, how is it fair that you're paying your taxes every year and Donald Trump hasn't paid any federal tax in the last 15 years?
That is true.
President. That's what's wrong with
him and Elon.
There's a way around it, and he's bragged about that. We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
Governor, you say trust the experts. But those same experts for 40 years said that if we shipped our manufacturing base off to China, we'd get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said if we shipped our industrial base off to other countries, to Mexico,
who is them?
It would make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about the idea that if we made America less self-reliant, less productive in our own nation.
What does it mean by them?
And they were wrong about it. And for the first time in a generation, Donald Trump had the wisdom and the courage to say to that bipartisan consensus, we're not doing it anymore. We're bringing American manufacturing back. We're unleashing American energy. We're going to make more of our own stuff. And this isn't just an economic issue. I mean, I've got 3 beautiful little kids at home, 7, 4, and 2, and I love them very much, and I hope they're in bed right now. But look, so many of the drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we put in the bodies of our children are manufactured by nations that hate us. This has to stop. And we're not going to stop it by listening to experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump governed on.
Senator, your time is up. Governor Walz, can you address that? I mean, voters say they trust Donald Trump on the economy more. Why?
If you're listening tonight and you want billionaires to get tax cuts, you heard what the numbers were. Look, I'm a union guy on this. I'm not a guy who wanted to ship things overseas, but I understand that, look, we produce soybeans and corn. We need to have fair trading partners. That's something that we believe in. I think the thing that most concerns me on this is Donald Trump was the guy who created the largest trade deficit in American history with China. So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this. I watched it happen too. I watched it to my communities, and we talked about that. But we had people undercutting the right to collectively bargain. We had right to work states made it more difficult. We had companies that were willing to ship it over, and we saw people profit. Folks that are venture capital in some cases, putting money into companies that were overseas. We're in agreement that we bring those home. The issue is Donald Trump is talking about it. Kamala Harris has a record, 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of the IRA.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So appreciate that. So if you notice, what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when he acknowledged that the experts screwed up, he said, well,
doing all right.
didn't do nearly as good
I got
a
some
job
coffee today. That was really good.
that he did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole.
Got a lot of
Tim,
shit done
Donald
today.
Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to
Did some
pretend that
yard
Donald Trump
work,
didn't
did some
deliver
editing.
lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you
Not
simultaneously got
insanely busy with school right now, so
atrocious
that was
economic
nice.
record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens.
Did a little bit of Final
I was
Fantasy, not a
raised
lot
by
of it, but a
woman
little
who would
bit.
sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put
Wait, no.
food on the table in our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that you need to afford. We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
Oh shit.
hope we
I
have a
thought I hit it.
on healthcare then.
Did I not?
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Oh, you know, it might have been empty.
We have a lot to get to.
Maybe it didn't run to a ball.
Gentlemen, on many topics, but right now I want to talk about
Shit.
personal qualifications. The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy? Your 2
Yeah,
minutes.
well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this.
I didn't hear about that.
I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would
Okay,
take
there we go. I got a ball
and we
this
would go
time.
back and forth to China.
I had
The
this
issue
big
for that
dumb.
was to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID, and I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this.
I
is
mean,
about
have you
trying to
seen his
understand
response to
the world.
COVID?
It's about trying
It was
to
not very
do
good.
the best you can for your community, and then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier, or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Vance, in 2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest office.
Damn it.
And you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president, writing to someone in 2020, quote, Trump thoroughly failed to deliver his economic populism. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear and not just the advice he wants to hear? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Margaret, because I've always been open. And sometimes, of course, I've disagreed with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is like he kind of flip-flops. He's I forget what it's called, but politician that flip-flops depending on what can suit him best.
A lot of things, frankly, that I didn't think he'd be able to deliver on. And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews, is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people where I come down on the issues and what changed. Now, you pointed out the messages from 2020. Margaret, I've been extremely consistent, but I think there were a lot of things that we could have done better in the Trump administration the first round if Congress was doing its job. I strongly believe, and I've been a United States Senator, that Congress is not just a high-class debating society. It's not just a forum for senators and congressmen to
our healer died.
It's a forum to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern. And I want to talk about this tariff issue in particular, Margaret, because just accuse this of being a national sales tax.
I was sure bet half the party's gonna leave.
And,
I guarantee it.
Surprised to hear me praising Joe Biden, but the one thing that Joe Biden did is he continued some of the Trump tariffs that protected American manufacturing jobs. And it's the one issue, the most pro-worker part of the Biden administration, it's the one issue where Kamala Harris has run away from Joe Biden's record. Think about this. If you're trying to employ
he's slimy.
A day, you're going
he changes depending on who can sue him best.
Unless our country stands up for itself and says you're not accessing our markets unless you're paying middle-class Americans a fair wage.
Senator, your time is up. Nora?
Thank you. Now to the issue of reproductive rights. Governor Walz, after Roe versus Wade was overturned, you signed a bill into law that made Minnesota one of the least restrictive states in the nation when it comes to abortion. Former President Trump said in the last debate that you believe abortion, quote, in the 9th month is absolutely fine. Yes or no? Is that what you support? I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill says, but look, this issue is what's on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade.
I'm surprised no one actually left.
Personal autonomy.
I'm actually somewhat really shocked.
Send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing. Amanda Zaworski would disagree with you on it's a beautiful thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. But in Texas, that would have put them in legal jeopardy. She went home, got sepsis, nearly dies, and now she may have difficulty having children. Or in Kentucky, Hadley Duvall, a 12-year-old child raped and impregnated by her stepfather. Those are horrific. Now, when God asked about that, Senator Vance said 2 wrongs don't make a right. There is no right in this. So in Minnesota, what we did was restore Roe versus Wade. We made sure that we put women in charge of their health care. But look, This is not where, if you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments. For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right. We have seen maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas, outpacing many other countries in the world. This is about.
Man, I'm getting so many procs right now.
First in healthcare for a reason. We trust women. We trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to respond to the
There we
governor's claim?
go.
Will you create a federal pregnancy monitoring agency?
No,
Man, I can
certainly
use
we
it.
won't. And I want to talk about this issue because I know a lot of Americans care about it, and I know a lot of Americans don't agree with everything that I've ever said on this
Take me
topic.
onto your
You
bosom.
know, I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood where I knew a lot of young women who had unplanned pregnancies and decided to terminate those pregnancies because they feel like they didn't have any other options. And, you know, one of them is actually very dear to me. And I know she's watching tonight, and I love you. And she told me something a couple years ago that she felt like if she hadn't had that abortion, that it would have destroyed her life because she was in an abusive relationship. And I think that what I take from that as a Republican who proudly wants to protect innocent life in this country, who proudly wants to protect the vulnerable, is that my party, we've got to do so much better of a job at earning the American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. And I think that's
What do you
one of the
mean?
things that
Just
Donald
let 'em have
Trump and I are
abortions.
endeavoring to do. I want us as a Republican Party
Is that so much to
be
ask for?
pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies. I want it to make it easier for young families to afford a home. So
Then
they can
do
afford a
something
place
about
to
it.
raise that family. And I think there's so much that we can do on the public policy front just to give women more options. Now, of course, Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona. And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy
It's better to have a
sometimes
choice than
is,
not have a
is to let
choice.
Voters make these decisions. Let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very
Am I wrong here?
diverse and, let's be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
Governor, would you like to respond and also answer the question about restrictions?
Yeah, well, the question got asked, and Donald Trump made the accusation that wasn't true about Minnesota. Well, let me tell you about this idea that there's diverse states. There's a young woman named Amber Thurman. She happened to be in Georgia, a restrictive state. Because of that, she had to travel a long distance to North Carolina to try and get her care. Amber Thurman died in that journey back and forth. The fact of the matter is, how can we as a nation
Oh, we have a
save your
griefer?
life and your rights?
Yeah, I think someone's griefing right now. I think the gunbreaker's griefing.
Body is determined on geography. There's a very
I'm just gonna let the gunbreaker
Amber
stay
Thurman
dead.
lived in Minnesota, she would be alive today. That's
'Cause he
why
keeps
the
trying to get
restoration
aggro.
versus Wade. When you listen to Vice President Harris talk about this subject and you hear me talk about it, you hear us talking exactly the same. Donald Trump is trying to figure out how to get the political right of this. I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said about what's happening. His running mate, though, does not, and that's the problem.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, let me ask you about that. He mentioned, it was, I think, referring to a national ban. In the past, you have supported a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks. In fact, you said if someone can't support legislation like that, quote, you are making the United States the most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is, why have you changed your position?
Well, Nora, first of all, I never supported a national ban. I did when I was running for Senate in 2022 talk about setting some minimum national standard. For example,
We understand the difficult predicament. Hold up one second.
Federal level. I don't think anybody's trying to get rid of that, or at least I hope not.
We understand you're
I know
pregnant and
Democrats
debating
have
whether to
taken a
keep
very radical
aborting.
pro-abortion stance, but Nora, you know, one of the
So
things that
therefore,
changed
we're removing
is
one of the
Ohio
options before you even have a chance to
referendum in
choose.
2023, and the people of Ohio voted overwhelmingly.
Also, I need
by the
another
way,
Tylenol.
against my
My lip is starting to starting to hurt again.
And I think that what I learned from that, Nora, is that we've got to do a better job at winning back people's trust. So many young women would love to have families. So many young women also see an unplanned pregnancy as something that's going to
also, like, you know, he doesn't mention rape or anything like that at all.
We've got to earn people's trust back. And
what do you mean earn people's trust?
Pursuing pro-family policies, making childcare more accessible.
Trust that you'll keep abortion available?
We've got to do a better job at that, and that's what real leadership is.
Governor, your response.
I'm going to respond on the pro-abortion piece of that. No, we're not. We're pro-women. We're pro-freedom to make your own choice. We know
yeah, it's pro-choice, not, you know, encouraging people to have abortion.
Women not getting the care. Physicians feeling
it's not like, you know, a girl gets pregnant, it's like, oh, you have to have an abortion. It's just like, here's the option if you don't want it.
One of the lowest teen pregnancy rates. We understand that too. We know that the options need to be available, and we make that true. We also make it, we're a top 3 state for the best place to raise children. But these two things, to try and say that we're pro-children, but we don't like this, or you guys are pro-abortion, that's not the case at all.
I hope they got their spell.
Women to make their choices, and we're going, and Kamala Harris is making the case to make options for children more affordable, a $6,000 child tax credit, but we're not going to base that on the backs of making someone like Amber Thurman drive 600 miles to try and get health care.
There we go.
May I respond to that? First of all, Governor, I agree with you. Amber Thurman should still be alive, and there are a lot of people who should still be alive, and I certainly wish that she was. And maybe you're free to disagree with me on this and explain this to me, but as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think, whether you're pro-choice or pro-abortion, that is fundamentally barbaric. And that's why I use that word, Nora, is because some of what we've seen, do you want to force Catholic hospitals to perform abortions against their will? Because Kamala Harris has supported suing Catholic nuns to violate their freedom of conscience. We can be a big and diverse country where we respect people's freedom of conscience and make the country more pro-baby and pro-family. But please.
Yeah, I'm going to take a time real quick.
Look, this is one where there's always something there. This is a very simple proposition. These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
this... But how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate. But the point on this is there's a continuation of these guys to try and tell women or to get involved. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place. When we do a restoration of Roe, that works best. That doesn't preclude us from increasing funding for children. It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals, they get early childhood education, they get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing
I took some
them.
drugs.
She's proposing all those things to make life easier for families.
Hell yeah.
I asked a specific question, Governor. You gave me a slogan as a response.
It's not the case. It's not true.
What did I
That's
miss?
not what the law
Anything
says.
interesting?
They fact-checked it with President Trump.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate.
All right, I'm going to mute it. It seems like not much is in terms of a shit show. It turns like they're both playing it very much by the book right now, which is not what I was expecting, but I guess it's good. I mean, JD Vance is saying some dumb shit, but also did not know about the whole like Chinese thing with walls. I have to take a look into that, but otherwise, it just seems like JD Vance is some kind of dumb shit, but not like they're eating cats and dogs in Springfield. Honestly, I think I would have liked it more if JD Vance was the Republican nominee than Trump. But you know what? I digress. Not by a lot, but a little bit. I don't know, dog, but definitely not what I thought this was initially going to be. I'll say that. I thought it was gonna be an absolute shit show, a complete wipe, but I mean, hey, that's kind of cool. I'll take it. Again, I'd rather take, it being boring and civil, and not they're eating cats and dogs. Or they're performing transgender surgeries on legal aliens. It's something, I guess. I mean, I'll take it. What are your thoughts so far, Kai? Because I fully expect this to be an absolute shit show. But I'm glad, again, it isn't. At least completely. Honestly, if I knew how much of a shit show the last was gonna be, I would have streamed that. But this one's just kind of eh. I mean, we're only halfway through. We got another, like, I think, hour. So maybe some stupid shit will happen. We'll see. Checking Discord to see if anyone's doing some looking for spell. That's probably not open. Yeah, that's definitely not open. Yeah, I missed that one. Oh well. Another Y'shtola clone? Y'shtola my heart. I ain't clever, but I don't really want that right now. I don't really need copied factory. I mean, I guess I could make my own party if I really want to. Kind of a hassle and a half to fucking lead that shit. I'd rather not if I don't have to, but I'd like to maybe try to fill this out tonight. I mean, that would mean I would have to do all 30 of the carnival. And Burn the Sun's gonna be an absolute pain in the ass to get a party for. At that point, I might as well just do carnival. Are we back? I think we're back.
Welcome back to the CBS News Vice
Hey, we
Presidential
back.
Debate. We want to turn now to America's gun violence epidemic. The leading cause of death for children and teens in America is by firearms. Senator Vance, you oppose most gun legislation
Good question.
Democrats claim would curb gun violence. You oppose red flag gun laws and legislation to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, including AR-15s. So let me ask you, earlier this year, for the first time, the parents of a school shooter were convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Do you think holding parents responsible could curb mass shootings? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, Nora, on that particular case, I don't know the full details, but I certainly trust local law enforcement and local authorities to make those decisions. I think in some cases the answer is going to be yes, and in some cases the answer is going to be no. And the details really matter here, of course. For example, if a kid steals a gun, that's going to be different than if a parent hands over a gun knowing that their kid is potentially dangerous. But look, I want to just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in 2nd grade. And like a lot of parents, we send our kids to school with such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school. And we know, unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience this terrible epidemic of gun violence. And of course, our hearts go out to the families that are affected by this terrible stuff. And we do have to do better. And I think that Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this. The question is just, how do we actually do it? Now, here's something that really bothers me and worries me about this epidemic of violence. The gross majority, close to 90% in some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, we've seen a massive influx in the number of illegal guns run by the Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the amount of illegal guns in our country is higher today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys, it just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Governor, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the Sandy Hook parents, and they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead, and they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president is. We understand that the Second Amendment is there, but our first responsibility is to our kids to figure this out. In Minnesota, we've enacted enhanced red flag laws, enhanced background checks, and we can start to get data. But here's the problem. If we really want to solve this, we've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation.
Really? No one's a healer around here?
Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that worked. I've spent time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen, even though they have a high gun ownership rate in the country.
There you are.
There are reasonable things that we can do to make a difference. It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And the idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort? Is that what we have to go when we know there's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing these types of drills? They're being kids. We owe it to them to get a fix. These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to. If you're listening tonight, this breaks your heart.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said, actually, about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the frankly, weird differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. Okay, first of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse, or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country that I really do think that we need to get to the root causes of, because I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines, but is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun offenders off the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was the NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is, talking about cities and where it's at, the number one where the most firearm
that did
deaths
not
happen
do
in
anything.
Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have, and we should look at all of the issues. making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. And there are things that you can do about it. But I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. Let's turn now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing and rent. There's a shortage of more than 4 million homes in the United States, and that contributes to the high housing prices. Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. First, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not folks living in those houses. Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it more affordable. And one of the things, as I said, this program that the Vice President is pushing forward and bringing a new way of approaching this is something we're doing in Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local folks make it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, certainly for me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things that make it there. Now, look, you're going to pay it back, and you're going to pay your mortgage. Those are things that we know in the long run, the appreciated value, the generational wealth that's created from it. And I will give Minneapolis an example. Minneapolis is the one city where we've seen the lowest inflation rates. We've seen a 12% increase in stock because we've put some of these things in, and we're implementing a state program to make sure we give some of that down payment assistance. We get it back from people because here's what we know. People with stable housing end up with stable jobs. People with stable housing have their kids able to get to school. All of those things in the long run end up saving our money. And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't blame immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there to help kickstart it, create that base.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is to seize federal lands to build homes, remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising, and what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country.
You said it has nothing to do with it.
Drive up cost, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened.
I mean, maybe partially, but the main issue is like BlackRock investment
Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim,
and just taking all the houses and making them all for rent.
Ideas I actually think are halfway decent,
and then outpricing.
But the most important thing here
is like the biggest factor. But no one blame illegal immigrants.
Vice President, if she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her, not sit around and campaign and do nothing while Americans find the American dream of homeownership completely unaffordable. Now, you asked, Margaret, what would immediately change the equation for American citizens? If you lower energy prices, as Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill, one of the biggest drivers of housing housing costs aside from illegal immigration is, think about it. If a truck driver's paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber he's delivering to the job site to build the house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate pricing relief for American citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole host of other economic goods too.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there. Do you want to answer?
Can I have it?
Where, yeah. Governor, we will get to that.
God damn, Walls, can I have it? That's great. That's funny.
Used for anything. They're not being used for national park. They're not
Can I have it?
They could be places where we build a lot of housing. And
I'm sorry, that was super funny.
Building in this country, we have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in
Well, of course, that's not
migrants,
true. And again,
that
you
it's
have the
affecting
facts. I
housing
guess we
prices.
agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office. But it's, again, blaming and not trying to find the solution. I was going to ask, though, on this question, are we going to drill and build houses in the same federal land? And I think when people hear federal lands, these are really important pieces of land. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the countries we do. There's not a lot of federal lands in and around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the world's fresh water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like, there's a chance to make money here. Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments. That gets people in. And I'm still on the fact on this. Economists, Senator Vance, you said you don't like the economists. Which economists are saying that it is immigrants that's adding to the cost?
Governor, your time is up. But Senator, on that point, I'd like for you to clarify. There are many contributing factors to high housing costs. What evidence do you have that migrants are part of this problem?
Well, there's a Federal Reserve study that we're happy to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between increased levels of migration, especially illegal immigration, and higher housing prices. Now, of course, Margaret, that's not the entire driver of higher housing prices. It's also the regulatory regime of Kamala Harris. Look, we are a country of builders. We're a country of doers. We're a country of explorers. But we increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder to build things, and wants to throw people in jail for not doing everything exactly as Kamala Harris says they have to do. And what that means is that you have a lot of people who would love to build homes who aren't able to build homes. I actually agree with Tim Walz. We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity. But the thing that has most turned housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to be here.
What are the federal regulations? I deal with this as a governor.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry. I get this as a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, that in some cases, many of those are local, many of them are state. I don't know which ones are federal, but I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
Governor, thank you. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. You're passionate about the housing crisis, I can tell. But Nora?
Thank you. One of the top problems facing Americans is the high cost of health care. Senator Vance, at the last presidential debate, former President Trump was asked about replacing the Affordable Care Act. In response, he said, "I have concepts of a plan." Since then, Senator, you've talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time under Donald Trump's leadership. And I think that, a lot of people have criticized this concepts of a plan remark. Look, it's very simple common sense. I think as Tim Walz knows from 12 years in Congress, you're not going to propose a 900-page bill standing on a debate stage. It would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again, he has a record to be proud of, prescription drugs fell in 2018 for the first time in a very long time. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, prescription drugs are up about 7%. Under Donald Trump's entire
guy joins tank slot, doesn't want to tank.
He introduced
my brother in Christ.
So you think about healthcare, you go into a hospital, you try to buy something, and nobody knows what it actually costs. That price transparency will actually give American consumers a little bit more choice and will also drive down costs. And we talked about, the reinsurance regulations is what I was talking about. Look, Donald Trump has said that if we allow states to experiment a little bit on how to cover both the chronically ill but the non-chronically ill, it's not just a plan. He actually implemented some of these regulations when he was president of the United States. And I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged Obamacare, which was doing disastrously until Donald Trump came along. And I think this is an important point about President Trump. Of course, you don't have to agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done, but when Obamacare
there's a lot to disagree on there.
Its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs, Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. It's not perfect, of course, and there's so much more that we can do, but I think that Donald Trump has earned the right to put in place some better health care policies. He's earned it because he did it successfully the first time.
Governor?
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to Medical Alley, 3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And so what I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to. Go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one was to repeal Obamacare. On day one, he tried to sign an executive order to repeal the ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain to save that bill. Now, fast forward, what that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at home and you got asthma, too bad. If you're a woman, probably not. Broke your foot during football, might kick you out. Your kids get kicked out when they're 26. Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time with Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there. But look, this issue, and when Donald Trump said, I've got a concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept, because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time. What
Jesus Christ, this fucking guy!
You're healthy.
Not to do with the presidential debate, but the fucking guy in my party.
Pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay out to you. But those of you a little older, gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
Governor, thank you. Senator, you have not
fucking
yet
guy.
explained how you would protect people with pre-existing conditions or laid out that plan.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened, and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight, is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality,
bro, how else are we supposed to take it then?
Inflation was low, take-home pay was higher, and he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern in a bipartisan way and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Governor, did enrollment under the Affordable Care Act go up under the Trump administration?
It's higher now that we've seen it go up. Look, people are using it. The system works. And the question about this of young people or whatever, that's the individual mandate piece of this. And Republicans fought tooth and nail saying, well, Americans should be free to do this. Well, then what happens is...
So you think the individual mandate's a good idea?
I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough to cover everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care. People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it get there, and we make sure then when you get sick and old, it's there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to buy into Medicare or whatever. Good luck buying health care once you get past 70. So look, the ACA works. We can continue to do better. Kamala Harris did that. The way she made everything better was negotiating those 10 drugs on Medicare for the first time in American history.
Thank you. Margaret?
Can I address that?
I apologize. We're out of time. We have a number of subjects to discuss. Margaret?
Let's talk about families in America. There is a child care crisis in this country, and the United States is one of the very few developed countries in the world without a national paid leave program for new parents.
That is true.
Walls, you said that if Democrats win both the White House and Congress, this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's what the deal is. Americans sitting out there right now, you may work for a big company. Look, we're home in Minnesota to some of the largest Fortune 500 companies. Kamala Harris knows that in California. Those companies provide paid family and medical leave. One is, I think they're moral and they think it's a good thing, but it also keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family and medical leave. You have a child, and I had to go back to work 5 days after my kids were born. This allows you to stay home a certain amount of time. What we know is that gets the child off to a better start, the family works better, we stay in their employers, we get more consistency in that. So Kamala Harris has made it a priority. We implemented it in Minnesota and we see growth. That's how you become a pro-business state. But the negotiations on it, and here's the issue. Those big companies are able to offer it. Those of you out there who don't have it, just imagine what happens if you get cancer or your child gets sick. We know what happens. You end up staying home. In some places, that means no paycheck because you've got no protection on that. This is the case of an economy that Donald Trump has set for the wealthiest amongst us. He's willing to give those tax breaks to the wealthiest. He's willing to say, bust those unions up, do whatever. What we're saying is the economy works best when it works for all of us. And so a paid family medical leave program, and I will tell you, go to the families or go to the businesses and ask them. As far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both.
I'm really hating this guy right now.
You can't expect the most important people in our lives to take care of our children.
Not the presidential debate,
parents to get paid the least amount of
but
money.
this guy in my party right now.
Make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then
Build
to make
me.
sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this. We were listed as the best state. We're still in crisis on this. A federal program of paid family and medical leave and help with this will enhance our workforce, enhance our families, and make it easier to have the children that you want.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, do you support a national paid leave program? And if so, for how long should employers be mandated to pay their employees while they are home taking care of their newborn? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, first of all, Margaret, a number of my Republican colleagues and some Democrats, too, have worked on this issue. And I think there is a bipartisan solution here because a lot of us care about this issue. I mean, look, I speak from this very personally because I'm married to a beautiful woman who is an incredible mother to our 3 beautiful kids, but is also a very, very brilliant corporate litigator. And I'm so proud of her. But being a working mom, even for somebody with all of the advantages of my wife, is extremely extraordinarily difficult. And it's not just difficult from a policy perspective. She actually had access to paid family leave because she worked for a bigger company, but the cultural pressure on young families and especially young women, I think makes it really hard for people to choose the family model they want. A lot of young women would like to go back to work immediately. Some would like to spend a little time home with the kids. Some would like to
Said
spend
absolutely
longer
no
home
one
with the kids.
ever.
We should have a family care model that makes choice possible. And I think this is a very important substantive difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's approach. I mean, look,
I was a
if you
child,
look at the
man, I
federal
cannot wait to
programs
get
that we
back to
have that
work.
support paid family leave right now, the Community Development Block Grant, and there's another block grant program that spends a lot of money from the federal government. These programs only go to one kind of child care model. Let's say you'd like your church maybe to help you out with child care. Maybe you live in a rural area or an urban area and you'd like to get together with families in your neighborhood to provide child care in the way that makes the most sense. You don't get
Yeah, you can't
access to
expect
any
that,
of
though.
these federal monies. We want to promote choice in how we deliver family care and how we promote child care because look, it
We
is
want to promote
unacceptable.
choice on this topic, but not abortion.
I've been on the campaign trail a lot the past 7 or 8 weeks, and one of the biggest complaints I hear from young families is people who feel like they don't have options, like they're choosing between going to
So
work
now you
or
know what
taking care of
abortion's
their kids.
like.
That is an incredible burden to put on American families. We're the only country that does it. I think we could do a heck of a lot better.
Senator, thank you. You have also said, Senator Vance, many things about the American family. The Federal Reserve says parents will spend nearly as much on child care as they do on housing each month. So I want to get your thoughts on this. President Trump recently said, as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kinds of numbers we'll be taking in. Is President Trump committed to the $5,000 per child tax credit that you have described? You have 1 minute.
Well, what President Trump said, Margaret, I just want to defend my running mate here a little bit, is that we're going to be taking in a lot of money by penalizing companies for shipping jobs overseas and penalizing countries who employ slave laborers and then ship their products back into our country and undercut the wages of American workers. It's the heart of the Donald Trump economic plan. Cut taxes for American workers and American families. Cut taxes for businesses that are hiring and building companies in the United States of America, but penalize companies and countries that are shipping jobs overseas. That's the heart of the economic proposal. And I think what President Trump is saying is that when we bring in this additional revenue with higher economic growth, we're going to be able to provide paid family leave, child care options that are viable and workable for a lot of American families.
Can you clarify how that will solve the child care shortage?
Well, because as Tim said, a lot of the child care shortage is we just don't have enough resources going into the multiple people who could be providing family care options. And we're going to have to, unfortunately, look, we're going to have to spend more money. We're going to have to induce more people to want to provide child care options for American families, because the reason it's so expensive right now is because you've got way too few people providing this very essential service.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, your ticket also has some child care tax credit proposals. Do you think Congress will agree to the $6,000 credit for newborns and $3,000 credit for children over the age of 6, as your campaign has promised? Is that realistic?
Well, if these members of Congress are listening to anybody, I can tell you, and this is the biggest issue. Everybody listening tonight knows. I mean, I'm sure they were shocked to hear it's not that expensive. And let's be clear, whether it's $5,000 or $6,000, that pays you about 3 or 4 months. Let's be clear of where we're at on this. It's because we got out of an imbalance on this. We thought we were going to get by not paying people. I don't think Senator Vance and I are that far apart. I'm not opposed to what he's talking about on options. We've done scholarships types of things. I think we need to be open to making the case. But the issue here is, the question you asked is, you're not going to pay for it with these tariffs. That's just adding another $4,000 on the family and taking less. So not only do they not get the money to pay for that, they're $4,000 in the hole. That's Wharton School. That's his alma mater. And so I think the issue here is, if those members of Congress, I can't believe they're not. When I go to businesses, sure, they'll talk about taxes sometime, but they will lead with child care and they will lead with housing, because we know the problem is, especially in a state like Minnesota, we need more workers because our economy's growing, but we need the workforce.
Governor, thank you. We need to move on. Nora?
Let's talk about the state of democracy, the top issue for Americans after the economy and inflation. After the 2020 election, President Trump's campaign and others filed 62 lawsuits contesting the results. Judges, including those appointed by President Trump and other Republican presidents, looked at the evidence and said there was no widespread fraud. The governors of every state in the nation, Republicans and Democrats, certified the 2020 election results and sent a legal slate of electors to Congress for January 6th. Senator Vance, you have said you would not have certified the last presidential election and would have asked the states to submit alternative electors. That has been called unconstitutional and illegal. Would you again seek to challenge this year's election results, even if every governor certifies the results? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, Nora, first of all, I think that we're focused on the future. We need to figure out how to solve the inflation crisis caused by Kamala Harris's policies, make housing affordable, make groceries affordable, and that's what we're focused on. But I want to answer your question because you did ask it. Look, what President Trump has said is that there were problems in 2020, and my own belief is that we should fight about those issues, debate those issues peacefully in the public square, and that's all I've said, and that's all that Donald Trump has said. Remember, he said that on January the 6th, the protesters ought to protest peacefully. And on January the 20th, what happened? Joe Biden became the president, Donald Trump left the White House, and now, of course, unfortunately, we have all of the negative policies that have come from the Harris-Biden administration. I believe that we actually do have a threat to democracy in this country, but unfortunately, it's not the threat to democracy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to talk about. It is the threat of censorship. It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships because of disagreements over politics. It's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens. And it's Kamala Harris saying that rather than debate and persuade her fellow Americans, she'd like to censor people who engage in misinformation. I think that is a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 40 years. Now, I'm really proud, especially given that I was raised by two lifelong blue-collar Democrats, to have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong leaders in the Democratic coalition. And of course, they don't agree with me and Donald Trump on every issue. We don't have to agree on every issue.
Bro, RFK Jr.'s a fucking nutcase. You don't want his endorsement.
Principle that we ought to debate our differences. We ought to argue about them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans. Kamala Harris is engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did it during COVID. She's done it over a number of other issues. And that, to me, is a much bigger threat to democracy than what Donald Trump said when he said that protesters should peacefully protest on January the 6th.
Governor?
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man.
There's one though that this one is troubling to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the story. Donald Trump refused to acknowledge this, and the fact is that I don't think we can be the frog in the pot and let the boiling water go up. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he didn't. 140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day, some with the American flag. Several later died, and it wasn't just in there. In Minnesota, a group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, "We're marching to the governor's residence, and there may be casualties." The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by state police. That issue, and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Mike Pence made the right decision. So, Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know, and I said as a football coach, sometimes you really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands, and then you try and do everything you can to help the other side win. That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is
there we go.
Imprisoning your
Get me away from this fucking guy.
Already laying the groundwork for people not accepting this. And a president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
Don't look at me.
Senator Vance, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all, It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country. We are going to shake hands
afterwards.
after this election. And of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it. But we have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on for a long time.
They do that too for Republicans as well.
The results of the election, I'm on board. But if we want to say, as Tim Walz is saying, that this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how we got to this point. But the issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up. I just think for everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement, but this is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris...
He's not going to answer.
...speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer.
He's right.
Talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump...
Oh, God, here he goes. He's talking about what he wants to talk about.
I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys...
Bro, it's a yes or no question.
...believing in democracy, the most sacred right under the United States democracy...
That's a pretty damn well-laid plan, trap by Walz, though.
No First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence...
Damned if he answers it, damned if he doesn't answer it. That's actually pretty smart.
Long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats...
I'm a little disappointed by how safe both are playing it right now.
Let's argue about ideas.
Not really that fun.
Afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't wear masks.
Senator, the governor does have the floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to respond to you.
Yeah, well, I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this, I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look, when Mike Pence made that decision to certify that election, that's why Mike Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is, where is the firewall with Donald Trump? Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that, because of course that's what we would do. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be right back with both of our candidates. The CBS...
Another ad. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna be real. It's kind of boring. I mean, a little bit. The only thing that was kind of interesting was the trap that Walz played. That was kind of interesting, but that was about it. This is very by the books. Not really much of a shit show like I predicted it was gonna be. And a lot of people thought it was gonna be. Getting a little spicy, but not crazy a lot. It's a definitely by the books debate. Maybe the last bit will be a little bit more interesting, but it's definitely not looking that way. we'll see. I mean, you know, some could happen in the last, like, 10, 20 minutes? Yeah, 10, 20 minutes, I want to say. I doubt it, but, never know. God damn, my lip really hurts. Man, I really fucked it up so bad the other day. Yeah, what was the other things in the tail? I can definitely do this pretty easily. Probably do one of these pretty easily. That's impossible. These are impossible. Unless I really want to torture myself rival wings, which I'd rather not. Alexander the Creator. I'll do Zerdin. Since I'm on that tab anyway. Yeah, any procs. It's surprising. Another non-proc. Oh damn, he's already dead. I knew we were gonna go next phase and then he's dead. He's mega dead. Okay. That was very easy. And then Alexander the Creator. What any of these are. I'll do eyes. I know I have to just do one of them in the creator category. But honestly, do not remember shit. Yippee! Oh, we back.
Welcome back to the CBS News vice presidential debate. It is now time for the closing statement. Senator Vance won the
Here's the end.
coin toss and elected
Last
to go
15
last.
minutes.
So Governor Walz, you are first. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Senator Vance. Thank you to CBS News. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. If you're still up and the folks who miss Dancing with Our Stars, I appreciate it. But look, the support of the democracy matters. It matters that you're here. And I'm as surprised as anybody of this coalition that Kamala Harris has built. From Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift and a whole bunch of folks in between there. And they don't all agree on everything, but they are truly optimistic people. They believe in a positive future of this country and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you, that better than it is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy that works for everyone, not just to get by, but to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something. Not the freedom of government to be in your bedroom or exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, look, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His first inaugural address talked about American carnage, and then he spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda. He will continue to push down that road. Excuse me. Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you, I'm going to be careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does resonate with me. He said, Donald Trump makes the people I care about afraid. A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself.
Goddamn.
Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that. All the while asking everyone, join this movement, make your voices heard. Let's look for a new day where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance to thrive. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
Governor Walz, thank you. Senator Vance, your closing statement.
Well, I want to thank Governor Walz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to
technically
buy a
Joe
house.
Biden's policies what they're trying to argue against, not Kamala?
Communities flooded with fentanyl, and that too.
Am I
has gotten
crazy
harder
here?
with Kamala, because of Kamala Harris's policies.
Also,
I've been in politics
that's
long enough to
President
do what
Trump's
Kamala Harris
bleed off
does,
from
where
when
she
he was
stands
in
before the
office.
American people and says that on day one she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you. And thank you both for participating in the only vice presidential debate of this election cycle. I'm Margaret Brennan.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell. And a reminder, there are just 35 days until Election Day. Please get out. And
Yeah, it's
vote
coming up
for all of us
fast.
Here at CBS News. Thank you and good night.
Mostly a snooze fest, I'm gonna say. Very much a snooze fest. A little disappointed. It is what it is. I mean, I guess we'll see if, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It just was not particularly too interesting. I thought there was going to be a lot more, they're eating the cats and the dogs and more transsexual surgeries on illegal aliens, but, yeah, that was something, wasn't it? I'm just gonna be doing some party shit, some spell grabbing. Gonna cover up chat with that. Just not what I was expecting, but it was still kind of interesting. Some of the traps that Walz played out. I mean, I still like Walz, but that was kind of just milk toast. Be fair. I'd rather have that than, you know, they're eating the cats and the dogs. Oh, okay, let me rephrase that. On one hand, I kind of like it that way, but on the other hand, I kind of like watching the shit show. It was okay. Oh yeah, today's reset day, isn't it? Shit, I forgot about that. Probably not a lot of people gonna be doing this till like the weekend. That's fine. Well, should I switch to some Persona 3 or some Lollipop Chainsaw after this? I don't think I'm Mighty Guard yet, do I? Pretty sure I don't have Mighty Guard. I have Gobskin. Alright, let me find a healer real quick. And change my thing to heals. Gonna be gone before I can. Really no healers? Come on, man. Oh, yeah, there's a healer. Thank you. Big appreciation. Miner's healed. That's what I was looking for. Hey, there we go. I guess that means I won't be moonfluting. I'll probably put that back on, though. What can I get rid of? Probably Breath of Magic. No, it stays. How you doing, Kai? The bait was kind of a bust. It was not that interesting. It was very kind of boring. I was honestly expecting a shit show, but it was not that bad. Are we freezing slash ultravioleting? Whatever. I'm just gonna do it. Feeling nice. Oh shit, you doxed her! That's my job, is to dox. Alright, somebody's, yeah. I typically don't play healer, so this is a little weird to me, playing healer for blue mage. I can delete that message if you want. Give me a second. Shit. Yeah, sorry. Need to focus on this. Gonna do AoE. Do a little bit of deeps. Keep her topped off though. Honestly, blue mage content's kind of fun. Oh shit! Yeah, it feels really weird healing a blue mage. God, I can only imagine what it feels like to tank as a blue mage. Oh. Sorry, I did not mean to do that. At least I got rid of the message. It's something. I didn't get rid of the message on the VOD, but I was just trying to delete the message where you name dropped. Sorry about that. I meant to delete the one message I actually hit all. My bad. That's a me problem. If I was trying to do it really quickly because we're doing a dungeon. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that, so I was, I just wanted to be better safe than sorry. The ultravioleting? Yeah, okay, cool. Betrayal! I really hope someone has their combo up. If not, it's gonna be maybe A, hurt a lot, or B, it's gonna take a long time. If not hurt a lot. I don't have mine up. Alright, I guess... Alright, now someone uses... Okay, that's fucking great. Very late than ever, I guess. I should probably take a... Oh, shit. I do not have raise. That might have been my fault. Alright, yeah, I'm going to have to focus on heals. I think that's the 30, all 30 rounds of the carnival, which I have like, I want to say 25 of the rounds of the carnival. Is this like the last fight where pain yet? Yeah, it is. Yeah, minigame might be a little nice. Honestly, I was just gonna be a ghost this whole entire time. I mean, kind of base, but... Hmm. The other guy. He's making his way. Pump gear. Yeah, I just need to look out more. Bad breath? Oh, mitigation, yeah. My brother in Christ? Mechanics? There we go. I'll show you, fist. Really? Okay. Well, of course they use the mine. I have to wait now, like, 2 minutes. I think it was like a minute and a half. Well, someone else is gonna have to do it now. But I think all of us have it, so... It's gonna be too much of an issue. Okay. Yeah, that guy's dead. Okay, they did it first. What are you doing? What are you doing? Bring him over here. Thank you. You know, I thought better of you, Lady Momo. I mean, to be fair, still better than the other guy, but still. No. Here we go. Yeah, nothing I could really do about that. He stood in the wind, and there's nothing I could do. I could not heal that damage. Yeah, indeed, fuck. Oh shit, did we not get the spell? I don't remember what the thing was. I thought we saw everything, didn't we not?
Otherwise, it will transform into a different attack and make it so you can't obtain it. Number 85 is Stotrom. This is an attack that knocks back the enemy. You can obtain this from the final boss of the Temple of the Fist, and the indicator is a cast along with being a stack. Number 91.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We didn't see the mechanics, so we didn't get the spell. We fucked up. Honestly, should have probably looked beforehand. Honestly, thought we would have probably just saw it, but we didn't. Well, damn. Shit, dude. That's gonna be it for spells tonight. Because I think everything's dead. Only 8, though. I'm gonna check the Discord. The Discord is dead as fuck. Yeah, I think that one girl's kind of done. I can't really blame her, though. Yeah, spells after Heaven's Ward are gonna be such a pain in the ass to get. I might be able to join this. And, I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed. But I guess it's better than nothing. I really want to finish this book, though. This one, not book, but this last page. I also wouldn't mind getting progress on the other pages. I think there's one for Cinder Drift. Think being keyword. Yeah, there's one for Cinder Drift. It's gonna be a pain in the ass because it's not synced, though. And I do not remember any of the mechanics. Especially for the extreme version, because I didn't really play at the, like, I won't say mid part of it, and not Endwalker, but Shadowbringers, through like 95% of Endwalker. Yeah, that might be all the spells I could do, because probably everyone's doing reset today. I guarantee 100% everyone's doing that. I might be shit out of luck right now. I might just have to switch games because I don't think there's really anything I can do here. That's I really want to try the RNG of joining Cinder Drift Party. I think it's very much out of luck right now. Well, I guess I could do either Lollipop Chainsaw or Persona for like 30 minutes. Or like an hour. What do I feel like more? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep checking to see if anything pops up, but I doubt it. I don't think so. I mean, there's a couple things I need to do. Like, I do need to progress do some stuff that are content catch up. Like, for some reason, I guess I never did Hall Breaker Isle hard on this character. As well, I think it's like the Emerald Weapon I haven't done. So I'm honestly just might do those real quick. I think what was in the locks? I think this is Emerald Weapon. I heard like one of these fights is really hard. I think it was Emerald Weapon. Fuck, Red Mage. Yeah, Blood of Emerald. Man, that thing was cool as hell. Not $30 cool, but cool. Yeah, I'm not voicing this out, especially with my, like, fucked up lip. At the very least. I'm not sure how much fucked up it can get after fucking Ruby Weapon. Ruby Weapon was pretty fucked up. Yeah, by the way, you still down for Thursday, Kai? Or Crystal Tower? If you're there. Obviously, prioritize school if you have school first, but I think it'd be fun to do Crystal Tower with you for stream. Or have you encounter, or... Yeah. Experience a Crystal Tower live on stream. I think that'd be fun. Your first 24-man raid. Ayy. I'm probably just gonna have to accept a bunch of different shit that I haven't done yet. Yeah, did I have to have this. Okay, I didn't. Okay. I think this is an alternative way to unlock that dungeon if I haven't already. Alright, do I give the experience? Yeah, I'll give the experience to Monk. Monk, a job I never want to level. I have no interest in ever playing this class. Or job. Sorry, not really sorry. I do not enjoy fisting. I'll say that. Alright. I guess I'll queue for these two. Duty. Oh shit, I can only select, well fuck. Oh, that was fast. Oh my god, damn. That was surprising. It is very green. Big fat tacos, big fat tacos. Oh, wait. Oh, shit, that's why. Okay, I know why, then. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, I feel really stupid. And Hullbreaker Isle hard. If I should be able to get one of those. I can't do Undersynced, unfortunately. I don't think it's possible for me to do it Undersynced, nor does it count for progress, I don't think. Unfortunately. I had the big dumb. TLDR. Yeah, I never finished Gate either. Actually told there. There's a lot of shit that I kind of missed out on. Lacking off. Yeah, I never finished the last Eden Gate either. Shit, man. Not you. You! I didn't get to see the two lesbians. Honestly, do not remember shit about this quest line. The first two Eden Gates. I do remember I really like these two's dynamic. Oh, what's the Derek again? Oh, down there. Derek. I'm still in prime hours, so I should be able to get a party eventually. Again, it's gonna be a little hard because today's reset day. Honestly, I should probably be doing that shit as well, but I kind of realized I kind of don't give a fuck. Let's go. I'll take piety. I mean, this material is shit no matter what. I'm probably just gonna vendor it, but... Aw, the goth lesbian is driving the car. She looks like, the one girl with the weird kind of nose. I can't remember her name. Bitchman Apartment 102 or something like that. Jessica Jones. She was in some rom-com I watched once. What? That's not what that girl always reminded me of. I'm third wheeling the lesbian date. Don't talk to her, she's driving. Can you have like autopilot or something? It's just like a bunch of like nothing. Yeah, she has to drive through. Also, I'm just saying, like, the high-ass platform heel shit that she's wearing probably is not helping her drive at all. I don't even know how you fucking drive and whatever the fuck she's wearing for shoes. Crystal? Oh yeah, I heard that you fight the Cloud of Darkness again. But kind of like the Dissidia kind of re-envisioned version than the original Final Fantasy III version. Honestly, I don't even know why I stopped playing this game during... Oh yeah, I know exactly why I stopped playing. Wait, no, not yet? How long have I been queued for? 9 minutes? Goddamn. Cloud of Darkness? Not really a primal. I mean, I haven't got with Zodiac and beating Zodiac at this point, but I digress. Cloud of Darkness. Light and dark. I guess I'll also have to watch the rest afterwards. Big fat tacos, big fat tacos. I love Red Mage. Oh, fuck. Oh shit, I gotta book it. I didn't realize it was gonna be that fast. I mean, everything's good. Everything's good. You're doing good still. Kind of dying really fast though. Oh shit. I see the magnetic pole. I love how when these happens, this is a big F you to casters. Also, hell no to backflipping for me. That's what we like to call trusting the group there. Shit. Wonky ass hitbox. Alright, why does he have 1 health? Sorry, I saw that straight on Twitch for Snapchat shit. What did he mean by that? What did I mean by what? Is that the I don't speak Nintendo one? I think it was, right? I don't know, I saw the option to on screen the clip. I'm like, fuck it, I guess I'll put it on. Oh yeah, I'll let you judge what that means. Yeah, Lollipop Chainsaw. Gaius? I mean, after hearing that shit, you don't want to Persona 3 yourself either? What the fuck is going on right now? Also, how you doing, Doom user? I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Doing good, I hope. I mean, fair, it's not the worst, but still, it's enough to be like, oh my fucking god. Don't hit me. Big Caprice. To get my mana back. Why not? Woohoo! I heard a lot of good things about Hellblade. I just never seen anything about the game. X-Defiant. That's like the Call of Duty like game, right? Yeah, I feel that. I bought the Battle Pass for Dead by Daylight like a couple months ago. I just never played it. I think there's a new one coming out soon. I guess that just shows how much I give a shit about that game. I don't know what fuck kind of mechanic this shit is, but, oh, okay, I see. I heard a lot of people like it, but I am not a huge COD fan, so I don't think it'd be my cup of tea, but... glad for people who, like Call of Duty and don't support Activision's scummy, bit. I don't know. And this is where my skills of Red Mage come in. Get to instantly, re-raise that healer. The ultimate prog machine. So I love Red Mage. Oh wait, is that the whole entire fight? I liked World of War and a little bit of Call of Duty 4. That was about pretty much my extent with Call of Duty. A little bit of Modern Warfare 2, but I'm not a huge COD fan. But again, I'm glad for people who love COD and want to see a return to what it was. Factions, yeah, I heard a little bit about that. That's kind of cool. Honestly, I hadn't heard about that game for months. But I'm glad it's still doing good. It'll never be my cup of tea. I know a lot of people are complaining about Rainbow Six Siege right now, like how far it's come from being like a tactical shooter to having all these collaborations. To basically wanting to be Fortnite. Again, I don't know if I agree necessarily with a lot of people's perception of that. Perception. But I just know that people are complaining about it. So I'm just kind of curious, like, I don't know if you play Rainbow Six Siege, but what the consensus is on that. Because I saw, like, a whole, like, post about it earlier today about people complaining about it. I went from, like, the series tactical shooter to basically Fortnite collaborations. It's from Far Cry, New Dawn, The Highwayman. Oh yeah, wasn't the one where like everything looked all pretty after the apocalypse or something like that? I remember I have a friend that was like a huge fan that the one previous, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. The game that was supposed to be a DLC for, I think it was Far Cry 5, right? Honestly, cannot keep track of all of them. The one with, like, the preacher dude, the religious nut, the cult leader dude. And he pretty much said the same exact thing was the DLC, or the New Cry, or New Dawn. That's what it was, New Dawn. Was kind of a letdown. And that's why I hear, like, the main consensus is for that. I mean, I kind of want to play that Far Cry game, but at the same time, not enough to actually go out of my way for it. Especially since, like, Ubisoft games on Steam typically make you download their launcher. It's like, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna be over here enjoying Final Fantasy. Then she just Gundam here. noble goals, but at the same time, I don't think this is the way to do it. God damn! Prison their own sister. That's a little cruel. Damn, that's fucked up. Well, there's the sister. Your brother's kind of dead, sorry. Oopsie. Made a little fucky wucky. Alright, I've been streaming for like about 3 hours now. Lips starting to hurt a lot, so I'm probably gonna call it here. Y'all have a good one, I'll see you next time. I'll probably be streaming Thursday. I won't stream Friday or this weekend. Got another job coming up, so yeah, I won't be able to stream. But I'll be on Thursday with Kai to do Crystal Tower. Y'all have a good one,